It started with a missing persons report, one that didn't sound all that urgent at first. 36-year-old Grant Wilcox hadn't shown up for his night shift at the factory in Crestwood, Indiana. He wasn't answering his phone. He hadn't picked up his daughter for the weekend. His coworkers figured maybe he just walked off the job. But to his sister, Lauren, something felt wrong. Very wrong. 3 days later, police would make a discovery so gruesome that even hardened detectives would struggle to speak about it. And the woman closest to Grant, his wife, Olivia, would soon be telling a story that unraveled with every sentence. When officers first knocked on the door of the Wilcox home, Olivia answered with a soft, almost practiced smile. She had a toddler on her hip and her hair up in a messy bun. "He left Friday night," she told them calmly. "We argued, and he just stormed out. He's done that before." The officers noted how relaxed she seemed. Almost too relaxed. "Did he take anything with him?" one asked. "His keys, his phone, I think his wallet, too. But he didn't say where he was going." They asked if she wanted to file a missing persons report. She shrugged. "I just thought he needed time. Grant gets like that sometimes." But Olivia was lying. Grant's sister Lauren filed the report herself 2 days later. She said it was completely out of character for him to disappear. He always called his daughter. He never missed a shift. And she mentioned something else. Something she hadn't wanted to say before. "He told me 2 weeks ago he was thinking of leaving her." Olivia said he found something in her messages. Some guy named Beck. Officers returned to the Wilcox house. This time with a little more pressure. Olivia welcomed them in again, but her story started to shift. Now she claimed that Grant had been acting paranoid before he left. "He kept saying people were watching him," she explained. "Maybe he just ran off. Maybe he's having a breakdown." They asked about security cameras. She said they didn't have any. But when one detective glanced up, he noticed a blinking light above the back door. "A camera. Active. Is that not connected?" he asked. She hesitated. "Oh, I don't know how that works. That was Grant's thing." The footage from the backyard was retrieved 2 days later, after a warrant was secured. And what it revealed shocked the entire investigative team. At 2:14 a.m. on the night Grant supposedly stormed out, the camera caught a different image. A tall figure was seen dragging something heavy wrapped in a tarp across the backyard toward the old septic tank behind the shed. At no point did Grant appear to be walking out of the house. But Olivia's boyfriend, Beck Daniels, did. He had arrived earlier that night, caught on a neighbor's doorbell cam, despite Olivia claiming they hadn't seen each other in months. When questioned again, Olivia's demeanor changed. Her voice trembled, but not from sadness, from control slipping through her fingers. "Grant was violent," she said suddenly. "He was hurting me. Beck came to help me talk to him, but Grant went crazy. It got physical. I didn't know what else to do." Detectives leaned in. "So you're saying Grant was alive when Beck arrived?" "Yes, but he attacked us. It was self-defense. It just got out of hand." "What do you mean, it got out of hand?" She froze. "I wasn't part of it. Beck took care of it. I didn't see anything." But now, the investigators knew she was lying. Crime scene technicians returned to the house with a new warrant, this time focusing on the septic tank. The Wilcox home had been built in the 1970s, and though it had since been connected to city plumbing, the old tank hadn't been decommissioned. It took 3 hours of digging. What they found inside will haunt the responding officers forever. Human remains, wrapped in a red Champion brand hoodie, a wallet, a set of car keys. Grant Wilcox hadn't stormed off. He hadn't lost his mind. He'd been murdered and buried feet away from where his daughter played in the backyard. Olivia was arrested at 11:42 p.m. that night. Her calm expression never cracked. She didn't ask what had happened. She didn't even deny it. But there was one final twist. When detectives searched her phone, they found a text thread with Beck Daniels that predated Grant's death by months. One message, sent just 4 weeks earlier, read, "The septic tank's still sealed, right? If anything happens, we've got a place." But what they didn't know yet was that this wasn't Beck's first time helping someone disappear. In fact, He was connected to a different missing person case, one in another state, with eerily similar details. And as the investigation widened, detectives would learn the truth. This wasn't just about one murder. Olivia and Beck had done this before, and they weren't done yet. When Olivia Wilcox was arrested, she didn't shed a tear, didn't ask about her daughter, didn't even mention Grant's name. But detectives were already pulling at a thread, and they were about to unravel something darker than anyone expected. Because Beck Daniels, her boyfriend, the man she claimed acted in self-defense, wasn't just some side fling. He had a history, and now, a cold case from rural Kentucky was roaring back to life. Flashback. April 2019, Madison County, KY. A 29-year-old woman named Samantha Avery had vanished without a trace. She just ended a turbulent relationship with a man she'd met online. Friends described him as charming but manipulative. The last text she ever sent? "He's here. Says he just wants to talk. If I go quiet, check the shed." Police searched her property. They found nothing, but her neighbor had caught a blurry photo on a motion sensor trail cam. A man in a dark hoodie, loading something large into the back of a black pickup. No license plate, no clear ID. The case went cold. Until now. Back in Indiana, forensics had finished processing the scene behind Olivia's house. They'd found something beneath the septic tank lid that no one expected. A second, smaller set of bones. Too small to be Grant. DNA later confirmed the shocking truth. Samantha Avery. Disassembled. Scattered. Stored in vacuum-sealed bags. How she ended up here, hundreds of miles from where she disappeared, led investigators to one undeniable conclusion. Beck had moved her body long after the first investigation had gone quiet. And Olivia? She knew. During a jailhouse phone call, intercepted under court order, Olivia told her sister, "They're gonna try to pin both on me. But I wasn't part of Kentucky. That was all him. I didn't even know about her until we moved." But that was a lie, because officers found a photo buried deep in her iCloud backups. From the day they moved into the house in Crestwood. Olivia and Beck, standing next to the backyard shed. And just behind them, a cooler. Large. Heavy-duty. The same model Samantha Avery was last seen near. Detectives began reconstructing the timeline and the motives. They discovered Olivia and Grant's life had been unraveling for over a year. Debt. Resentment. Custody threats. Grant had been planning to file for full custody of their daughter and had photographic proof of Olivia and Beck's secret meetings. She stood to lose everything. Her child. Her house. Her reputation. Unless Grant disappeared. When interrogators sat Olivia down again, she said nothing, just stared straight ahead. But when they played her a clip from the backyard security footage, the one showing Beck dragging the tarp, her expression shifted. Not to fear, but resentment. "You know what's funny?" she finally said. "He told me the septic tank was just for emergencies. I didn't think he meant this." Beck Daniels, meanwhile, had vanished. Gone underground. His apartment abandoned. His truck missing. But investigators uncovered something chilling on his laptop. A document titled Contingency Plan. Inside were detailed instructions on how to clean, dispose, move bodies, depending on soil type, state laws, septic system access, and methods to avoid detection. And at the bottom, a single line. "If I get caught, she talks. And if she talks, there's one more they'll never find." Now, detectives are racing against the clock. Because if Beck Daniels is still out there, he might be preparing to vanish again. Or worse, there may be another body they haven't found yet. July 2025. The manhunt for Beck Daniels has reached a critical point. U.S. Marshals, the FBI's Violent Crimes Apprehension Program, and forensic profilers are now involved. But Beck didn't leave behind fingerprints, DNA, or credit card trails. He left maps. Pinned under his floorboards were laminated road atlases. Old school, marked with coded initials, dates, and red XS, spanning 5 states. One X, circled in black, was in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Agents swarmed the location. What they found was a collapsed mobile home, abandoned for years. Inside, buried under broken furniture and insulation, they discovered another vacuum-sealed container. But this time, no bones. Instead, photos. Hundreds of them. Women. Girls. Some smiling. Some unconscious. Some bound. All catalogued with names. Dates. Places. One stood out. The only one marked with a question mark. A girl? No older than 12. Sleeping on a couch. No name. Just. Still out there. Back in Crestwood, Olivia Wilcox agreed to one last interview, on the condition that her daughter wouldn't be brought into it. Detective Miriam Slate asked her a simple question. Was Grant the first man you helped him bury? Olivia didn't answer, but she started to cry. Not soft tears. Sobs, violent and sudden. She buried her face in her hands and whispered, "We didn't mean for it to happen like that. Not with her." Detectives froze. With her. They pressed. But Olivia shut down. Lawyers stepped in. The interview ended. So who was her? Samantha Avery? The girl in the photo? Someone else? Detectives turned to Beck's estranged father, a retired trucker named Russell Daniels, living in a rundown camper outside Evansville. When asked about his son, Russell said, "Beck ain't been right since the summer of 2002. What happened that summer? He came back from Bible camp with something missing in his eyes." It was a throwaway comment, until investigators dug deeper. They found a missing persons case from July 2002. Danielle Forrester, 13 years old, last seen at a church camp in Paducah, Kentucky. Her cabin bunkmate? A boy named Beck Daniels, age 15. The case was closed as a presumed runaway. No body was ever found. No arrest was ever made. No one ever connected her to Beck. Until now. In Olivia's old house, in the garage attic, they found a notebook duct-taped under a vent. Inside, Beck had written page after page of disturbing ramblings, almost all centered around one idea. They always go quiet when the light hits their eyes. The final page read, "Samantha was punishment. Grant was protection. But the first was pure." The investigation is no longer about just a domestic homicide. It's about uncovering a serial predator who may have started decades ago, and who is still out there, because a gas station camera in Little Rock caught someone matching Beck Daniels' description just 2 nights ago. Black hoodie, ball cap, driving a different truck. He bought duct tape, rope, zip ties, water bottles, and one more thing, a child's coloring book. Little Rock, Arkansas. The grainy gas station footage gave them something they hadn't had in weeks. Proof Beck Daniels was alive and planning something. He was using burner phones now, prepaid, no IDs, no contacts. But one pinged near a playground just before it was turned off. The FBI dispatched a tactical team to the area, fearing the worst. No child was reported missing. No witnesses saw anything. But in a nearby wooded trail behind the playground fence, they found a crude wooden shrine. Toys, burned photos, ripped doll heads, and a note, wedged under a stone, smeared in black marker. "You'll never find her if you don't know where it started." Meanwhile, Olivia Wilcox had finally been moved to a psychiatric observation unit after a breakdown in custody. She wouldn't speak to the press, wouldn't speak to her lawyers, wouldn't speak to her daughter. But when Detective Slate visited with a photo of the mystery girl from the mobile home, Olivia's reaction was instant. She recoiled. Then she whispered, "That's not her name." Slate leaned in. "Then what is her name?" Olivia closed her eyes and muttered. Her name was Hazel, and she never screamed. Not once. Hazel. No missing child named Hazel matched the timeline. No matching DNA. No matching reports. Until they found a handwritten journal in a pawn duffel bag traced back to Beck, sold for $40 outside a Greyhound station. The journal was full of sketches. Scenes of violence, rooms underground, children's faces. On the last page, Hazel, July 14th. Final sleep. Olivia watched. She said it was the only way. FBI analysts reviewed Olivia's financials. One charge stood out. A motel reservation. 3 years ago. A cabin in Tallulah Falls, Georgia. 2 adults. 1 child. Paid in cash. They traced it. The cabin had long since been torn down, but cadaver dogs hit on the soil behind the fire pit. They dug 6 feet down. Children's teeth. 3. No adult remains. DNA confirmed none of them were Grant Wilcox. None were Hazel. That meant one thing. There were more victims. As the body count grows, one message becomes horrifyingly clear. Beck Daniels wasn't just a husband. He was a hunter. And Olivia wasn't just complicit. She may have been his lure. But where is Beck now? That question would be answered, horrifically, on a stormy night in Mississippi, when a 9-year-old girl named Eliza Dobbins vanished from her bedroom, leaving behind only one clue, a Polaroid photograph on her nightstand, of a girl tied to a chair, smiling. Hazel. Little Rock, Arkansas. The grainy gas station footage gave them something they hadn't had in weeks. Proof Beck Daniels was alive. And planning something. He was using burner phones now. Prepaid. No IDs. No contacts. But one pinged near a playground just before it was turned off. The FBI dispatched a tactical team to the area, fearing the worst. No child was reported missing. No witnesses saw anything. But in a nearby wooded trail behind the playground fence, they found a crude wooden shrine. Toys. Burned photos. Ripped doll heads. And a note, wedged under a stone, smeared in black marker. You'll never find her if you don't know where it started. Meanwhile, Olivia Wilcox had finally been moved to a psychiatric observation unit after a breakdown in custody. She wouldn't speak to the press, wouldn't speak to her lawyers, wouldn't speak to her daughter. But when Detective Slate visited with a photo of the mystery girl from the mobile home, Olivia's reaction was instant. She recoiled. Then she whispered, "That's not her name." Slate leaned in. "Then what is her name?" Olivia closed her eyes and muttered. Her name was Hazel, and she never screamed. Not once. Hazel. No missing child named Hazel matched the timeline. No matching DNA. No matching reports. Until they found a handwritten journal in a pawn duffel bag traced back to Beck, sold for $40 outside a Greyhound station. The journal was full of sketches. Scenes of violence, rooms underground, children's faces. On the last page, Hazel, July 14th. Final sleep. Olivia watched. She said it was the only way. FBI analysts reviewed Olivia's financials. One charge stood out. A motel reservation. 3 years ago. A cabin in Tallulah Falls, Georgia. 2 adults. 1 child. Paid in cash. They traced it. The cabin had long since been torn down, but cadaver dogs hit on the soil behind the fire pit. They dug 6 feet down. Children's teeth. 3. No adult remains. DNA confirmed none of them were Grant Wilcox. None were Hazel. That meant one thing. There were more victims. As the body count grows, one message becomes horrifyingly clear. Beck Daniels wasn't just a husband. He was a hunter. And Olivia wasn't just complicit. She may have been his lure. But where is Beck now? That question would be answered, horrifically, on a stormy night in Mississippi, when a 9-year-old girl named Eliza Dobbins vanished from her bedroom, leaving behind only one clue, a Polaroid photograph on her nightstand, of a girl tied to a chair, smiling. Hazel. They hadn't seen Beck Daniels in 46 days, until Eliza Dobbins vanished. Her mother said she kissed her goodnight at 8:37 p.m. Her bedroom door was locked. The window had security bars. But by 6:12 a.m., Eliza was gone. The only thing out of place was the Polaroid. It hadn't been there the night before. No prints on it. No DNA. Just the image. A girl, around 10, tied to a metal chair in a cement-walled room. Her smile was crooked. Her eyes lifeless. But her mouth was smiling. On the back, scribbled in ink, Hazel says hi. The photo triggered a multi-agency manhunt. FBI, U.S. Marshals, behavioral analysts. They began to connect a pattern across 4 states. Missing girls between the ages of 9 and 13. All vanished under strange, silent circumstances. All left behind gifts. Crayon drawings, teeth, Polaroids. Each clue pointed to the same thing. He was staging a legacy. Detective Slate and Special Agent Lana Keir stepped into Olivia Wilcox's padded room with one goal. Break her. They showed her the Polaroid. She didn't blink. I told him not again, she said flatly. She was too sweet. Is Hazel alive? Agent Keir asked. She was, Olivia said, then leaned forward. But not after the Red Room. That phrase had surfaced before, scribbled in the margins of Beck's journal, whispered by a foster kid who'd been adopted, then returned. The Red Room wasn't a metaphor. It was a place. They found it outside Monroe, Louisiana. A forgotten concrete storm shelter, buried beneath an old tobacco barn. Burned walls, chains on the floor, crayon drawings, some recent. One of the drawings showed a figure wearing a rabbit mask. Another showed a girl with brown hair tied to a pole. And then, etched into the wall with a nail, just one word. Eliza. But no body. Just a scent trail leading to the woods. A trail that suddenly ended near tire tracks. The forensics team discovered something odd embedded in the mud. A tiny piece of red fabric, not from clothing, but from a theater curtain. It didn't make sense. Until Slate remembered a line Olivia whispered days earlier, during a medicated haze. He likes to put them on stage. The FBI issued a nationwide bolo for abandoned theaters, traveling carnivals, defunct schools. That's when a 911 call came in. A custodian in rural Alabama found something behind the curtain of an abandoned elementary school auditorium. A stage, a spotlight, and 3 chairs, all empty, except for one thing, a camera, still recording. On the tape, a girl walks into frame. She's trembling. Her name is Eliza. She looks directly into the lens and says, "My name is Eliza." But he says, "I'm Hazel now." Here's how it could play out. The footage of Eliza sent shockwaves through the task force. There she was, tied to a metal chair on a stage, her mouth quivering, whispering, "My name is Eliza." But he says, "I'm Hazel now." The voice cracked. The pain was real, but something else was off. Agent Keir replayed the footage dozens of times, frame by frame, until she noticed it. Her lips and her voice weren't synced. They ran an audio forensic test. Conclusion? The voice had been dubbed. But dubbed with what? The team isolated the original audio buried beneath the track. And what they heard was the scream of a woman, not a child. Meanwhile, Detective Slate returned to the site of the Red Room. Something kept gnawing at him. There was no blood, no drag marks, no sign of a struggle. But the scent trail, why had it stopped so abruptly? He checked the files again. One document had gone missing. A page from Olivia Wilcox's psychiatric evaluation. He found the original in a caseworker's email. And on that page, a list of aliases Olivia used as a child while in foster care. The third one down? Hazel D. Slate rushed back to the facility. Olivia was gone, sedated and transferred, they said. But no transfer papers existed. No exit footage. Just a single Polaroid left in her room, tucked under her pillow. It showed a woman wearing a rabbit mask, standing behind a child in a hospital bed. On the back, the handwriting was different, tight, precise. "You wanted Hazel? She's been directing the show all along." At Quantico, Agent Keir received an email from a burner account titled, "The Final Act." Attached, a video. It opened in a dark theater, curtains drawn, a single spotlight, and from the shadows, 4 children stepped forward, each in costume, each smiling. Then, from off-screen, a woman's voice whispered, "And now, take a bow." The children looked confused. One girl started crying. Then Eliza stepped forward last. She turned to the camera. The same look, same tear down her cheek. But she smiled, wide and eerily calm, and spoke in her own voice this time. "My name is Olivia, but they made me into Hazel." For more chilling crime story, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.